Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for a quick episode where we're going to take a look at a card that is coming up on 90 years old. It is one of the coolest cards in my collection for a few reasons, which we'll get to. And so if you like really old vintage cardboard, pre-war stuff, definitely stick around. But before we get to it, I'm going to talk briefly about a recent pickup that's kind of what inspired me to show off the older card. So here's the more recent pickup. Snagged this beautiful card recently, courtesy of eBay, and it's kind of a joke, but this is from the 2008 Goudey baseball release, and it's one of the short printed sport royalty cards on the high number portion of the checklist, which covers, greats from all different sports. And the reason I say it's kind of a joke, I got this graded card for $12.50. So this is Sidney Crosby in a fine 9. Love the look of the new CSG flip with this dark Penguins uniform, and the yellow that's in the background here really just ties everything together really, really nicely. Beautiful looking card, of course. This is an early career Crosby card. It's in a baseball set, but this would be only like his 4th year of playing in 2008 after having debuted in 2005. So he was still very early on in his career, but was already accumulating accolades, even at that young age. And love this one because, of course, it is a throwback or a nod to the original Sport Kings gum cards from the 1930s. But this in and of itself is a cool card. Regardless, Crosby is still going in the NHL like almost 15 years after the release of even this card. He's off to a very hot start here in the 2022-23 season, even though he's in the latter half of his 30s now. Just continues to produce. He's won everything you can win at the NHL level. And I just thought this deal was too good to pass up at $12. Here's some of the language on the back, which is cool because, again, he hadn't been around long. So it does reference that in the summary, but talks also about he became the first teenager to win a scoring title in the NHL. He led the league in scoring as a teenager, which is insane. Very lofty expectations placed on Sid's shoulders when he came into the league, and he has absolutely lived up to them. A huge Crosby fan here. But the point of this episode, that's kind of the preamble, that Crosby card seemed like the perfect opportunity to show off another card from my hockey collection that I think is just fantastic. Based on the lead-in and some of the history I just gave you there, you can obviously guess what it is. I'm going to look at a 1933 Sport Kings gum card. Here it is. This is Ching Johnson of at the time, the New York Rangers. And a lot of you who collect baseball will probably be familiar with this design, simply because it's been reused over the years, like you see with this Crosby card. But also this original 1933 Sport Kings set featured a variety of athletes from many different sports. And some of the biggest, toughest cards in this release are baseball players. Guys like Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth are on the checklist for this. I do not own either of those. I wish, maybe someday. But years back, what I did think would be cool would be to get a hockey card from this iconic release. There were, I believe, 4 subjects that were included on the Sport Kings gum checklist who were hockey players. And so I've got this beautiful Irvin Ching Johnson in a VG-EX4. Just a really gorgeous card. For something that is coming up on 90 years old, as I said, it looks really, really nice. Card is in great shape. The colors are vibrant. Like his blue eyes are really almost just coming alive off the card here. I love the artwork along the bottom. So this, they didn't recreate this in the Sport Royalty cards, but the original Sport Kings gum, whatever sport it is that the king, who's the subject of the card, plays, they do like a nice black silhouette just above the nameplate of that particular sport taking place. So I love the hockey action here. You got one guy down on his knees, somebody else is skating around him, making a pass. Just really cool artwork there. I love the painting. I love the edge of his glove. Just a gorgeous 90-year-old hockey card. You don't see these all that often, at least I don't. I don't really look for it, or this card, nowadays, now that I own a copy, but I don't think it's a terribly easy set. It's certainly not rare. I wouldn't use the R word, but, as the decades roll by, I don't think these are getting any easier to acquire. So really glad that I grabbed this one back in the day. Here you can see on the back, the reason this scored a 4 is primarily the staining that has occurred on the back here. But you know what? It doesn't really detract from the look of the card to me. I care much more about the fronts for starters. And secondly, you can still read the entire summary here. Even where there is staining, it doesn't detract from your ability to read this right up, which is really what I care about when it comes to the back of these cards. Cool looking. I like the fact that it was made in Boston for Sport Kings, a subsidiary of Goudey Gum, which is, where the whole tie-in comes together from the Goudey set and that Crosby insert. So this guy was pretty cool. Obviously, none of us who are watching this video got to see Irvin Johnson play the game. He was out of professional hockey by the 1940s and played the bulk of his career in like the 20s and 30s. Pretty cool story though. He won multiple Stanley Cups. And what I really admire about him, he got a late start in the sport of hockey because he was serving in World War I. So he didn't break into the NHL until his late 20s, almost 30 years old when he debuted. Still won a couple of cups, was still respected among his peers, and was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1958, I believe it was, and was known as one of the hardest checkers, one of the hardest body checkers in his day. So there is a 1933 Sport Kings Irvin Johnson and a 2008 Sport Royalty Sidney Crosby, courtesy of Upper Deck. Two cards that look pretty cool together, and neat way for Upper Deck to tie in different generations of hockey onto a very similar design. So good job by the folks at Upper Deck on that Crosby. And like I said, good excuse to drag out that Sport Kings gum. So I hope you enjoyed this. And I'll certainly be back very soon with some more sports card content. In the meantime, I really appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you're all enjoying the hobby. Take care.